Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth annual New Jersey Youth Transitions Conference. My name is April DePietro, and I work for the Camden County Partnership for Children, and we are thrilled to have you here with us today. We're excited to introduce our wonderful presenter, Stefani Rinaldi. She will be discussing what happens after the last exam, the journey from school to adult life. Thank you, Stefani, for sharing your insights and expertise. Let's give a warm welcome to our presenter. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So this presentation is going to be on what happens and how you bridge the gap from the education world to adult services so that you have a seamless transition into the adult world. My name is Stefani Rinaldi, like April said. I'm the assistant director at the Center School. We are located in Somerset, New Jersey. And I've been at the Center School for 2 years now. Previous to that, I was in adult services for 10 plus years for a director of service position overseeing day programs, employment programs, and residential programs. So my experience is both in the adult world and in the education system, hence why I can kind of bridge that gap and give a lot of feedback. So we're going to start by talking about high school services and how we can bridge them. So we're going to go and ask a question first. So my presentations are always something that I like to get the audience involved in and get you guys thinking. So the first question, and you can put the answers in the chat, is, did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up at the age of 16? So you can just put a yes or no answer in the chat box. And April's going to just give me an overview of what your answers were because I can't see it at the moment.
There's yes, no, no. I thought I did, but it changed. No, no, no. Yes, nope, no, no. So it looks
Yes.
like more no's than yeses.
So as you guys can see, most of us didn't know what we wanted to do when we grew up at the age of 16, or it changed drastically. So think about our students in high school and them trying to figure out, okay, what do I do after high school? Whether you have an IEP or not, that's not always an easy question to answer. So the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act ensures that all children with disabilities have available to them a free and appropriate public education that emphasizes special education and related services to meet their needs and prepare them for education, employment, and independent living. If you do have an IEP, you are entitled to education up until the age of 21, and the 18 to 21 years does consist of what we call transition services. So the education system will provide those transition services. Each school district has their different, same kind of idea, but they provide the service differently. Most of it is work-based learning, skills and soft skills that go with working, or supporting the student for college education. The New Jersey Administrative Code, which is 6A .14, and the Federal Individuals with Disability Education Act of 2004 ensure that children with disabilities have access to free, appropriate education in the least restrictive environment. So what does that mean? For some people who are not in the education world, what is an IEP? What services are available? And then what is transition planning look like? So we're going to go into answering those questions. An individualized education plan, also in the adult world, is called an ISP versus an IEP. It is a written agreement between the school districts and the parents. It provides a summary of the student's achievements and performance, any objectives, modifications, and supports that the student may need. And then it also identifies programs and services that the school district will provide within the 12-month period. This may include OT, PT, occupational therapy, physical therapy. It may include reading specialist services, There's a section on an IEP that talks about transition services and being referred to DVRS. So it is a thorough plan that the parents have the ability to have input into what goes into that plan, as well as the students if they're at an appropriate age to do so. So now we're going to take a look at the next question. Did high school prepare you for life after high school? So I'll give you a couple seconds. That's another yes or no question. And it doesn't have to be special ed. It's just general. Did high school prepare you for after high school?
No, yes, nope, no, yes, no, yes, maybe, not really, no, not really, no, 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 not at all, no, yes. It's a mix.
Okay. Yeah. So we got a lot of no's again. So again, it's a topic of, being able to understand what's in the education system and what's in the adult system, and how do you correlate that and get the same thing that you're getting in the education system in the adult system. So I'm going to show you a list. I went over some of them before, but the school-based services is your occupational therapy, your physical therapy, speech and language, reading, counseling, ABA services, and social skills. Other things would include nurses, transportation, assistive technology, recreation, your high school transition services that I mentioned up till the age of 21, medical services, extended school year. If you have heard of that, a lot of people call it ESY. Short for extended school year, but there's a program that lasts about 20 days in the month of July. It tends to be a half day for students so that there is no regression after, and there's not a 2-month gap between ending school in June and starting in September. And some of our students also need a one-to-one or a shared aid. So if there's students within the school district, in the school that require some support, it could be for medical reasons, it could be for safety reasons, or it could be for academic reasons. There may be a one-to-one or a paraprofessional in the classroom. So now that we talked about some of the things that are in the education system, whether you're going to a private school for students with disabilities or a public school, you will have the ability to have all those services. So now we have to talk about transition planning. How do we get to the adult service world? So if you take a look at this slide, it's on the Department of Education website, and I think it's really important because it outlines to the parents exactly where you want to start. And really, you want to start in your IEP meeting, starting to talk about what is it that you're looking for, what is your family and the student want to do, looking at their strengths, what they want to do for courses of study, maybe in community college, related strategies and or activities, consulting with other agencies. One of the things that I recommend is collaborating with students and parents. I'm going to get to the next slide as you guys look at this, but I'm going to go over some of the responsibilities of the school personnel, because as parents, if you're on this meeting and you're a parent, you may want to consider taking a look at this as well. There needs to be collaboration with the students and the parents. There needs to be a vision and somewhat of an idea of what you're looking for. Do you want your student, your family member, to go to college? Do you want them to go to community college? Do you want them to go to a day program? Do you want them to go to an employment program? It's taking a look at, okay, what's going to happen after school? Because as we know, school goes for 6 hours a day, and then there's after school clubs, and it's just kind of handed to you. This is the school system. This is the schedule. In adult services, it's not like that. We want to educate the students on their rights and promoting self-development or advocacy skills. Whenever I do an IEP meeting, I always let the students talk. I don't let the parents talk for the students unless the students are saying, okay, I would like my mom to explain it or my dad to explain it. But it's really important for the students to advocate for themselves. Informing students and families about services in post-secondary settings. Again, that goes to whether it's the Office of Disability Services in a college. Colleges do not offer the ability to have an IEP and have accommodations, but they have the Office of Disability Services where you could take your IEP and show them you need extra test taking time. They don't have that document, but they still provide services. But you got to know where to go to get them. Then in the adult world, what services are offered in the adult world, whether it's DVRS or DDD, and how do I get those services for my loved ones? We want to help students identify an appropriate plan based on their needs. I love to tell this story. I once was supporting an individual in a transition program, and he wanted to be a lawyer. And I knew that cognitively on his education level, that was probably going to be very hard. So I asked him, what is it about being a lawyer that you want to do? He says, I want to wear a suit and tie and I want to go to a fancy building. And that's when I knew, okay, let me see what I can do. So I contacted a couple attorneys' offices and I had him job sample at the attorney's office and he got to wear his suit and tie. And he did such a wonderful job that when he was done doing the job sampling, they hired him on as an employee. When he first started there, he was filing and shredding paper. And when they got more comfortable with him and saw that his skill level had grown, they started letting him answer the phone and do more things at the office. So it's really about taking a look at our students and seeing exactly what they want and where we can place them. And then also to assisting with the application process. So if you want to apply to DVRS or you want to apply to DDD, what is it that we need to do? We have to do the New Jersey CAT assessment, or we have to send the referrals to DVRS. So we start going all of those responsibilities and we work on having that seamless transition. Here are some of the related services also supporting transition, assisting the students to build language and communication skills. So when we look at our speech and language, our SLPs in the school, when they're working with the students, you know, can the students hold a conversation with their peers and adults? Because they're going to need to do that in the adult world. Comprehending language on important documents when they're filling out, you know, the referral form or paperwork for their driver's license. Do they understand what their address is, what their telephone number is, what their complete address is, what the house number and the zip code? Explaining skills and limitations during an interview. Are we providing resume building? Are we having them do mock interviews? Are we having them meet with individuals from work? Here at the school, we had an HR professional from the YMCA come in and do mock interviews with the students, provide feedback, and then do the interviews again so that they could work on those skills. Expressing concerns or self-advocating to peers or authority figures about academic or job performance. Okay, so you're in the transition program and you're not doing very well at your job sampling, at your work-based learning. What do we need to do to get you ready for when you graduate? Finding strategies to assist with effective communication. Are we teaching them to use public transportation or go to the bank? Calling service lines when we need help. These are all skills, whether we consider them soft skills, job skills, life skills. These are supports that we want to have the students learn in their transition years to get them ready for when they do go in to the adult world. Some meaningful transition, some ideas is making sure that it's student-centered. If your student does not want to work retail, it's probably best that you don't keep them in all retail when you do work-based learning. Align with developed skills and strengths. If I know that one of my students is not somebody who likes to be around a lot of people, I'm probably not going to stick them at a store at the cash register where they have to interact with people, finding that right fit for them. We want to focus on the student interests. Again, looking at what they like. If I have a student that really likes video games, I tend to find places. I know here in the area that I live, we have a place called Yestercades. It is all video games. Well, you can get a job working there and you can be around that environment. Maybe somebody wants to work at GameStop because they want to be able to look at all the games and learn about them, but still be working. And then consist of functional goals and objectives. What are we doing with the students? Are their goals and objectives something that they really need for them to be successful in the adult world? Okay, I have another question for you guys. What did you go to college for? You can just put any answer in the chat box or think about it.
Psychology, social work, psychology, special education, psychology, social work, psychology, social work, Bible major, criminal justice, pre-law, special ed, psych, medicine, early childhood, economics.
Oh, okay. So I got another question for you. Are you in the career that you went to college for? That's a yes or no question. I heard some very unique degrees.
No, 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 no. Yes, 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 no, yes, no. Similar, but no, sort of, for one of them, kinda.
Kind of 50-50 there.
Yeah,
I will
about
tell
that.
you, yeah, I always use myself as an example. I went to school to be a certified elementary school teacher, not in special education, but mainstream education. I ended up working in behavioral health services with students on a psych unit at the hospital. And then got into working with adults with disabilities. Now I am here at the school, so my degree is now very important to do my job here. But I did not start off being a teacher in a school. Okay. So now I wanted to talk to everybody about adult services. So we talked about what you get in school. Now we have to talk about what you get in as an adult. There's two forms of service. The main two forms of services are DVRS and DDD. And we're going to go over what those two services mean. So the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, or DVRS for short, you have to complete a referral form, and that referral form can be completed by anybody. If I have a student, I can send the referral form in, their parents can send it in, they can send it in, their neighbor can send it in. If you go to the website for DVRS, you could do it online as well, or you can print it out and you can fax it in. With DVRS, you do have to do the referral form and that you have to become eligible for services. So you have to meet the criteria. And then if you do meet the criteria, you have to choose a service provider. A service provider is an agency or entity that provides whatever services that you need. So if you look over to the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see some of the services: the trial work experience, the community-based evaluation, internships, pre-placement, job sampling, job coaching, intensive and long-term follow-along. So a trial work experience is before you get actual approval for DVRS. It's basically in the name of it, trial. You're trying out working and looking at your soft skills to see if you're eligible for services. Community-based evaluation is you getting services and then figuring out, okay, what's your skill set? So you are placed at a place of employment and you do some of the tasks, and then there's an evaluation to see, okay, what is it that we need to work on? When we do pre-placement and job sampling, what do we need to provide? So pre-placement is, let's say maybe you get a voucher for 20 hours to try out someplace that you think you may want to work. And you do job sampling and you get taught the soft skills for that job. And then job coaching is, okay, I get the job and now somebody has to help me while I'm working. Help you advocate for yourself, check your schedule, make sure that you're at work on time. Then intensive is right when you start the job. Your job coach may be with you for 2 weeks straight to get you acquainted with your job, and then they fade away, which goes into long-term follow-along. So the idea is that if your job coach is doing their job very well, They're going to place you somewhere that you're going to be successful at. They're going to coach you through it. They're going to be there a lot in the beginning, and then they're going to fade away till you're independent. The next is DDD, or the Division of Developmental Disabilities. Again, you have to be eligible for services. The difference between adult services and student services is that adult services, you have to apply to be eligible. You're entitled to the education system services, so it's a little bit different. There's the website that you go to for the Department of Human Services to fill out the paperwork. Then you have to complete the New Jersey CAT assessment, which is the New Jersey Comprehensive Assessment Test, to see what budget or tier you get. So I always like to tell everybody that when you're doing the CAT assessment, a lot of parents, let's say, you know, mom wants to make their son or daughter look really wonderful on their assessment. And if you're going to make toast and you have to put the toast in the toaster and you have to prompt them to make sure it's not burning, they're not independent. Maybe to you they are, but you want to say that they're not because you prompted them, because the better and independent that the more independent that the person is, the less money that they may be getting because they don't need as many services. So you want to be able to make sure that you accurately show what they need so that you get the funding for that. Once you get your CAT assessment tier, you can work with a support coordinator who's going to take your ISP, your individual service plan, and have you pick where you should work kind of services. And if you look on the right side of this slide, it's going to tell you some of the services. So for DDD, there's a manual. It's the support manual or the community care waiver manual. And they're going to basically give you an a la carte menu of what you can have. And I listed some of them. The most common is your supported employment, your career planning, pre-voc training, transportation, technology, housing, and community-based supports. So that support coordinator will look at your tier and how much money you have in your budget and figure out how much of these services you can get and how often. Obviously, housing is 24/7, but kind of the support that you get. There's different levels of housing and there's different types of programs during the day. You can do community-based supports, you can do day habilitation services. It just depends on what you're looking for. And understanding what all of those services are really makes a difference on what you want to put in your budget. Okay. So this one question for you is, what do you wish you knew to prepare you for the adult world? And that's a more sentence type of question for you.
A roadmap, a guide that outlines all of the things that you should be doing: personal finances, better money management, financial literacy, time management, real life finances. That life was expensive, better money management, taking time to decide what you really want.
Well, I will tell you that budgeting and money management is something that the transition level education system should be teaching you. Here at the school, we have a whole curriculum and we do functional math to go over that. And we even take the students to the bank. Nobody really uses a bank as much anymore, but sometimes you got to go to the building and you gotta use the bank. So now that I talked to you guys about adult services and I talked about the education services, how do we bridge those two gaps to find out how are we going to make that seamless transition from the education system to the adult services? I will tell you, a lot of parents that I've worked with, whether it was when I was in the adult service world or the school world, they really have no idea what's out there. It's hard to find these things out because unless somebody tells you, you don't even know where to look for the information. And that's where the school and the adult service providers or adult entities need to come together to make sure that parents and families and students know where they have to go for the information and what they're eligible for. Okay, so these are some of the key things that I always look for is the school and the service provider need to work together. So building relationships, schools having transition fairs, um, saying, okay, well, this support coordinator agency, is really good at what they do. I really promote them. Can they come in and do a webinar for the parents? Can they come in and speak to the parents about the adult services? Getting information to the parents and guardians can start as early as middle school because there's so much information and it's so hard to completely understand if you're not used to the terminology that we want to start early on. Making sure that IEP meetings have stakeholders. Has DVRS been invited to the IEP meeting in their senior level of high school? Do the students know what DVRS is? Do they know what they're eligible for? One of the outings that we do here at the school is we go to the local DVRS office and DVRS does a presentation for the students and they get a tour of the office so that they're familiar. Like I said, the transition fairs, offering information, having a transition fair that includes colleges or includes, DVRS, DDDs, a couple different support coordinators, providers. There's a lot of providers in the state of New Jersey. Does that provider provide the service that you're looking for? Are you happy with how they provide it? And taking a look at everything and putting it together. And everything that I'm going over, it's not rocket scientist, but it's doing it. There's a really big gap between the schools connecting with adult services and bringing those stakeholders in. Every DVRS office has a transitional DVRS counselor that is allowed or able, and it's their job to go to the school districts and provide information. If they call you and you're a school, have you utilized them? Are you working with them? I'm asking service providers, finding ones that are in your county and saying, okay, can you come in? Can you share information with the students here? Can you present to them? Can you present to their parents? It's really the main thing is building the relationships and giving the parents as much information as they need. So that's kind of in a nutshell, going over adult services in the education world, in a very short, abridged version without going into too much detail. So I don't know now. I normally do this presentation in person and I got lots of questions. So I kind of gave extra time to give questions. If anybody wants to ask anything, people have asked me when I've done this presentation, on advice for different things. I've done it for quite a long time. So I would be happy to share whatever you guys would like to know.
Someone asked if they can have a copy of the slides.
Sure. April, how do I do that? I don't have everybody's.
If you stop share and you go to the chat box, you can click the little piece of paper.
Okay.
And then you can pull the slide deck right from your computer and put it right in the chat box.
Okay. Here's my contact information too, if anybody wants to email me after this. Let me try to do exactly what April said. So I stop screen sharing and what do I have to do?
Go over to the chat if you have it open, and on the bottom next to the emoji option, there's a piece of paper. When you click it, it will ask you from your computer. So click that and then just drag and drop.
Okay, I got it.
Stephanie, if you'd like, you're welcome to wait till the end or a few minutes. You do have some other questions in the chat as well.
Okay, I'm going to put the presentation in there. I have a couple versions of it, so I just want to make sure I give you. I use Mentimeter when I do it in person, so there's a Menti version. So I think I'm putting the correct version in there for everybody. Okay, let me take a look at the chat. Let's see.
Would you like us to read them for you, Stephanie? Because they go back a little while you were speaking.
No, I see the first one, why some school districts discharge students by the time they were 18 and how and who makes the decision. So school districts tend to not want to keep the students past the age of 18 because they have to pay for them. And the students are entitled to an education after that. And that's where you have to, as a parent, start advocating for your child to stay past that age. So I would recommend early on in the sophomore, junior year of starting to talk to the school district about wanting your child to participate in a transition program. And also be aware that the public school districts have transition programs, but there's also schools, private schools that have transition programs as well, and those programs are all different. Here at the center school, we have a college tract in our transition program, which from what I understand, may be the only one in New Jersey that does what we do. So make sure that you shop around. And you check out schools and you talk to your public school or private school if you go to one and find out what they have in their program. Who can parents go to when the school district and DVRS say the other needs to pay for a program? The parents get stuck in the middle when students still have IEPs. So I don't know, I'm thinking about this question because based on the New Jersey state law, the school districts have to provide transition services and DVRS will pick up the other parts. So there's five core services and PREETS services, which is PREETS is pre-employment transition services. So if the school district is providing some, then DVRS will provide the other. So you just have to work with them. PREETS is also a program that there's an internship program. And you can do that outside of school. So if you're going to go to school and participate in a transition program, you can do that internship program through DVRS outside of school. So you could do it in the evening or you could do it on the weekend as well. And I normally, if they're not paying and the parent gets stuck in the middle, that's kind of odd because normally that doesn't happen. Okay. Let me scroll down a bit. Do students, families ever invite stakeholders who are not in the disability world, like a caring friend or neighbor? Any ideas on how to promote this? It really makes a difference. So yes, you can invite anybody that you want to your IEP meeting or your ISP meeting. You just have to tell the school or the support coordinator that you're coming. You don't have to ask, you just tell that they're coming. And one of this whole thing here, DVRS has a model, and discovery model, and it's basically saying that the DVRS and the service provider looks at the individual and takes everything into account. They interview the family, the neighbors, the friends, the cousins, and they get a really good picture of the individual. So yes, you are allowed to bring, and I would bring them if there's a neighbor that's really supportive, that's going to be providing transportation for your kid to get to work. Absolutely. Yes, that's one way Project Search could be used. Project Search is a very good program. Okay, I'm going through and just taking a look at any questions. Yes, somebody put here they can keep them on roll and attend under other programs like Project Search. That is correct. We have here at the school, and I know other schools do it too. We're a private school for students with disabilities, but we are state funded and we get our funding through the public schools. So we have a lot of public schools that will send their students here for our transition program just because it meets the needs of the students. So that's another way. Center for Adult Transition at Middlesex County College. There's been quite a few programs that have opened up in the state of New Jersey for this type of work. I have a list of them. Our social worker here at the school has a long list to give that to the parents here so that when they are graduating, even graduating from the transition program, they can go do those types of programs. So I don't know if anybody has anything else, but I'm going to put my email address in the chat again. And for any of you that is here too, that is in the field, or even parents, there's a lot of organizations like Span New Jersey or APSI. I happen to be the president of APSI. We're having a huge conference and we give all this information out to Jersey. So there's a lot of things out there that people can find information and find different programs to better either give the information to their students, be parents, or other service providers that don't know what other people are doing. Somebody asked, are students at the age of 18 getting DD services? So you can only get DDD services at the age of 21. DDD did just pass a law recently, a couple months ago, that you can get, there's 2 or 3 services that you can get at the age of 18. It's basically bridging the gap for the students that are graduating at 18 and are not quite 21 to start their services. The idea is that you stay in school till you're 21, and when you graduate, you go right into DDD, and the school district should be helping you complete the paperwork, giving you the, hey, fill out the paperwork now. Hey, do you need help filling it out? So that when you graduate, you go right into services. Okay. And then Middlesex County College was just making a statement about what they offer as well. Where do you find the list in our county? Are you, Becky, asking for the DVRS list? Just put a yes or no so I can, okay. I'm staring at it right in front of me. It is pinned on my bulletin board. I can, if you can email me, I'll send it right over to you. But there is a lovely list from DVRS of all of the county offices, their address, their managers, their supervisors, their fax number. So if you're a school and you're or a parent sending the DVRS referral, all the information's on there. What are 2 services can get at age 18? Well, that's the caveat to everything, is that you can get DVRS services, but you can't get DDD services. The 2 services that I mentioned is probably what you're asking for. It's probably behind me. Give me a second if I can find it for you. Let me see if I can find it in here. I print everything out, but if not, you can send me an email as well, and I can pull it up for you because I do have it. I'm going to take a quick look in my documents here because I can share it with everybody. Okay, I do have it. So I'm going to put the DVRS list in the chat box as well as the DDD list. Okay, the DVRS list is coming first. And thank you, April. I didn't know you could do that, so that's made my life easier.
Happy to help.
And there's the DDD at age 18. So there is a handbook for DVRS and what they can provide. If you Google New Jersey Department of DVRS, you can pull up their website and it's all on there. It may bring you to their website called Career Connections, but there's a whole pre-ETS manual and then what services DVRS provides, as well as DDD has the supports manual. And I will tell you that they're my Bibles and they're all behind me in binders and I use them almost every week. Just keep looking and make sure I answer any questions. And I will stay here until the very end. Have I made a checklist for the transition phase? You know, I haven't put it on paper, but it's in my head. It probably would be helpful for everybody else. I have a lot of useful information in this head. It's just making sure everybody has it. And I will tell you too, the Department of Education website is where I pulled that slide off of. They do have important information too on there, like checklists and information.
Like a
Um,
roadmap.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't think that I have. I'm gonna check now myself. No, I didn't save that one, but I know it's on there because I've seen it before. Oh, is the 334-page manual is probably the supports manual, and yes, if you've never read it, it is quite scary. But if you start reading it and you understand it, it really is very informative. It outlines from the very beginning of what you are entitled to, what the support coordinator does, what everybody's role is. And then it also allows you to take a look at, well, what is the program supposed to have? If you do day habilitation, you're allowed to get transportation. And if you do get transportation, does it have to be in a catchment area? It makes a lot of families very well aware of what they're entitled to under each service. And if anybody wants to take their camera off and ask the question not in the chat, feel free.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie Rinaldi. We really appreciate your time and your expertise. And thank you to everyone in the audience for joining us and being a part of this session. We hope that you learned something valuable and feel inspired on your own hero's journey.
Thank you, everyone.